This is a very important Torah, and it's very connected to Elul, which is the month of Tshuva. This is a time where we can have tremendous breakthroughs in our connection to Hashem and to start over again. No matter what it's in, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's with our physical health, our emotional health, our psychological health, our spiritual connection to Hashem. Elul is a tremendous time to start over, to have something called tshuva, which literally means to return to reality, to return to your true self, to return to your source, okay? And Rabbi Nachman says that there is a way to experience that every single thing that takes place in your life is the best possible thing that can happen. That you actually experience that. Not just that you heard it in a book, not just that you learned it from a teacher, but that you literally, in the moment that something happens, whether good or seemingly bad, your inner experience of that is, this is Olam Haba. This is the best. Can you imagine? You guys all look completely distressed, worried, nervous, okay? So therefore you should really want to experience that, no? How much would you pay that no matter what happens in your life, you experience it as the ultimate best thing that can happen to you?
All the money in the world.
All the money in the world. Thank you. That's the only answer.
What?
That's the only answer. Anybody who understands the question would give up anything to have that, because then your whole life is Gan Eden and every moment is joyful. It's true or not? It's like drugs without drugs.
Can you repeat the question?
No. And you must accept that was for the best. And that you love it, and you thank Hashem, and you give me a hug and a kiss after, okay? I just can't. But you were here, you've heard the question before, it's just stuff you've learned already, okay? So now, how do you get to that point? You need to take something called your malchut out of exile. What's malchut? Malchut is the power of influence in your life. What does that mean simply? Every single one of us believes and has some type of authority in our life. Even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in the President of the United States, even if you don't hold by what your parents teach you or what your wife says to you, every single person always has an authority. What does that mean simply? There is an influence in your life which is causing you to think, feel, and act at every moment. For instance, he's shaking his foot right now. Why? Because there's a malchut in his life. There is a king, an influence in his life, which is causing him and influencing him to act, think, and feel a certain way. You can't avoid having this king. Your only choice is, which king do you want to serve? That's the only choice in your life. It's not whether or not you have an influence. You always have to have something above you which is influencing you. Let's say you don't believe in God. Let's say you were someone like me growing up. So my whole goal in life was pleasure. Just pleasure. And I said, I'm free. Why am I free? Because I don't have to answer to anybody. Right? I don't have some fake imaginary creature in the sky who I have to listen to because he's not real. I'm free. But what didn't I realize? That I actually was a slave to my desires. The desire for pleasure. And you don't realize as a secular person that that's called your king. Because if I have to watch a certain movie, or if I need to listen to a certain song, or if I have to go to a certain party, if I ever have to do anything, it means I'm not free. So everyone has a king. Everyone has to listen to someone or something, whether it's Hashem, or your body, or your self-esteem. or your desire for honor, or your desire for fame. Everyone has a king. Your only choice is which king. And as long as your king is not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning as long as the influence in your life at every moment is not Hashem, then what's called your Malchut, it goes into exile. Kingship for you goes into exile. And automatically, as soon as Hashem is not your king becomes people, places, and things. Meaning, let's say for instance, I have an issue at home with my spouse. So this is a very common occurrence. Nobody has to shake their head or raise their arm because we're not in day school. But what's the cause of that problem? So on paper, it's because 1, I married the wrong person. 2, she doesn't listen. 3, she's not trying. 4, she...
How about you did something wrong?
Okay. No. Okay, but this is she. I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
This is called people,
That's
places.
not Hashem either.
Right. So this is called people, places, and things.
Okay.
Why does a person think those things? Because they don't believe Hashem is the cause of everything in their life. So as soon as a person doesn't believe Hashem is the cause of everything in their life, they automatically attribute it to people, places, and things. So that was just one example. Do the same thing at work. Why is my boss always giving me a hard time? Why doesn't he trust me? Why does he give this guy a raise and this guy's a schlub and I'm working my off and I don't get a raise? And the answer is, it has nothing to do with your boss. It's because Hashem doesn't want to give you more money. And if Hashem wanted to give you more money, the boss would give you more money. And if Hashem doesn't want to, He won't give you. But how come you don't experience your life that way? Because you don't believe that. And as soon as a person doesn't believe that, then the results are disastrous. Why? Because then your thoughts are going to be disturbed. And your emotions are going to be volatile. They're going to be destructive. And your actions are going to be very, very chaotic. All because of one thing, that you don't believe that everything comes from Hashem. Not yet. How does a person be able to believe that everything comes from Hashem? And then once I have that, then my life in this world is like Olam Haba even when I'm here. Because I realize that every single thing that happens to me is for the best. So therefore there's no difference between if I run a mile in record time or I trip and sprain my ankle before the race starts. Because both of those things come from the one who's good and who does good. So the result is only good. Look at this guy's pants. That's good. Now on paper, this is the weirdest thing that could happen right now, but but everything is from Hashem and everything is good. Everything is from Hashem and everything is good. This is a little questionable, but in general, everything is good, okay? You hear? What's the difference between you spraining your ankle before you start a race and you finishing the race number 1? If you believe in people, places, and things, one of those situations is the greatest thing that can happen. And the other situation is a disaster, a catastrophe, something that should put you in your bed for a week, for a month, for a year because of this worst case scenario. Or every single thing that takes place in your life is from Hashem, and everything that Hashem does is only for your best. So if the result is this is the best thing that could be happening to me, then there's no difference between you spraining your ankle and winning the race. Does everybody understand that? How do you ever get to the point that you can actually experience that in your mind, heart, and soul, and not just hear about it in a Breslov lecture? The answer is something which is very shocking. It's impossible to do this except by doing vidui devarim in front of a tzaddik emet, in front of a talmid chacham. What does that mean? That I do tshuva to Hashem in front of a tzaddik. I do tshuva to Hashem in front of a tzaddik. Everybody's mind should be racing to Uman Rosh Hashanah right now. And now you understand one of the deep reasons why Breslovers go every single year to to be with Rabbeinu, because they get to Makayim and fulfill this Torah of doing vidui devarim, doing tshuva to Hashem in front of a tzaddik emet. Because Rabbi Nachman says what happens at that moment is you rectify your fallen amuna and you acquire what's called real amuna, that everything comes from Hashem and everything is for the best. This is what we learned so far together. Now, what's the reason we said this works? Simply like this. The word davar, word, also means situation. A davar is a matter, and a davar is also a word, and davar is also a leader, an authority. All of these things are intricately connected. Meaning what? When you have a situation that takes place in your life, let's say, for instance, you just went on a date, it didn't work out. Okay? She said, I'm so sorry, you're very, very nice. It's not you, it's me.
No, it's me.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Okay, it's not you, it's me. Meaning, I can't wait to get out of here, go out with my friends, and, visit Hashem, find someone that it's not me, it's them. Okay? So what happens to that person? He feels terrible about himself. Why does he feel terrible about himself? Because he thinks he's the cause of what just happened. But what's the truth? This is not his zivug, and if he were to be with that person, it would not be good for him. And Hashem did an unbelievable blessing for him and for her. He got to learn something from this. He doesn't know what it is. She got to learn something from this. She may not know what it is, but there's no way this happened unless Hashem wanted it to, and it's for the best. Okay? What happens though when you just leave it as, she dumped me, I'm done? So you're going to spend the next week in your bed, writhing around, watching like Nickelodeon cartoons from like the 90s, and just feeling terrible about yourself, listening to like really bad old music, singing it with tears coming down from your eyes. Okay? Not that I haven't experienced any of these things. But, okay? Or you can take the matter, the davar, the matter that took place, and you bring it to Hashem. And by talking it out to Hashem, you're lifting up the matter, the davar, the word, back to its source. Because what is the root of all matters in your life? It's Hashem. But what happens when you disconnect the events of your life from the source of that event? You experience suffering. Everybody understand that? It's not the event in your life that's causing you suffering. It's the disconnect between the source and the event itself. But when anything is reconnected back to its source, you're able to experience that it's good. That's why when a person goes to do Ibodah and he comes out and he goes, I don't know why, I feel so much better, nothing changed. The answer is everything changed, because your mind changed. Before you spoke to Hashem, your whole concept of reality was in exile. But when you bring what happened back to Hashem, who's the source of the event, you rectify and sweeten the event. That's called uniting Yud Kei Vav Kei with Elokim. Elokim represents authority, people, places, and things. And when you don't return it back to Yud Kei Vav Kei, meaning back to Hashem, then you experience your life through Elokim, meaning din, judgment. Everything feels like tremendous suffering and struggle. But that's because Elokim on its own makes you feel like that. But when you unite Elokim and Yud Kei Vav Kei, meaning you take Elokim, the davar, the matter, the event, the thing itself, and you talk to Hashem about it, to Yud Kei Vav Kei, you're actually doing a very deep Kabbalistic yichud between Elokim and Yud Kei Vav Kei. You're uniting Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and Elokim. And as a result of that, you merit to something called Da'at. Da'at means consciousness. Means I'm awake. I'm not sleeping. What do you mean I'm not sleeping right now? That all depends. Because when you think of sleep, you think of physical sleep. But physical sleep is a reflection of spiritual sleep. What is spiritual sleep? Sadness, anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, confusion. Rabbi Nachman and Rav Natan teach all of these emotions are the result of what's called Shena, sleep. To be conscious, the emotional response to that is simcha, happy. If you're not happy, Rabbi Nachman says you must be sleeping. You must be sleeping. Because every single thing that takes place in your life is from Hashem. And Rabbi Nachman says there's one reason Hashem does anything in your life that you can know for sure, even if you don't know why Hashem is causing what He's causing to you, or what He's done to you, what's happened in your life. But there's one thing you can know for sure: the motivation for Hashem's hashgacha pratit, His providence in your life, is one thing: His love for you, His infinite love for you. Why don't you feel that love? Because you've disconnected Elokim from Yud Kei Vav Kei. You've disconnected people, places, and things from the source of those people, places, and things. When you reunite the event with the source of the event, you get what's called da'at. You get to experience everything is from Hashem and everything is for the best. This is what we've done so far together. Now the question is, why is me doing teshuvah, vidui devarim, in front of this tzaddik to Hashem, why does that help? Right? Doesn't it sound like a lot that I have to go to Uman, to a third world country, to be in a shtetl? That I have to go to Eretz Yisrael, to go visit the kever of true tzaddikim over there? That I have to go take a flight so that I can achieve what's called a munah? That sounds like a lot of work, no? What does it do for me to be sitting and standing in front of this tzaddik who may not be even alive, and I'm doing tshuva to Hashem, and all of a sudden it has this tremendous rectification for me? This unbelievable tikkun that now it's possible for me to experience that everything in my life is for the good. So listen to what he says. Va'avonotav shel adam heim al atzmotav. Because a person's averot are on his bones. K'moshe katuv, like the pasuk says, v'tehi avanotam chakuka al atzmotam. That Yechezkel says that when a person does an avera, it becomes etched onto his bones. What does that mean? That means that even when you do tshuva, basic tshuva, they say, Hashem, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I really want to do better. You get counted for tshuva, 100%. But the avera doesn't actually leave your bones. Now what's the result of that? Physical pain. Emotional pain. Psychological pain. It makes an impression on the bones. Why? Because your bones, what's the word for bone? Etzem. Very good. What does etzem mean? Does anybody know what etzem means? Beside bone. Your source. The etzem means your source. Everything in your physical body is connected to a different level of your soul. Your bones, which are called your etzem, meaning your essence, is connected to the highest level of your neshama. Notice when a person passes away, what deteriorates immediately? His flesh. What stays? His bones. Why is that? The Zohar teaches it's because your flesh represents the part of you that's least essential. And your bones represent your essence, like soul and body. What goes away when you leave this world? All the lies, your flesh. What stays and remains? Your essence, your bones. Etzem, your essence. So when you do an avera, maybe you superficially, kind of like when you, let's say for instance, you eat really unhealthy, okay? You're busy eating at that kosher McDonald's every day. You guys don't know what I'm talking about, right?
In Israel.
In Israel, right. Okay, it's kosher, but it's not healthy. And what happens? You start to develop illnesses that come from eating terrible, disgusting processed foods. Now what happens, let's say for instance, chas v'shalom, you develop, let's say, type 2 diabetes. I don't know. So now you need to take insulin. So the insulin is going to help you deal with the symptoms of the diabetes. But the insulin is not going to get rid of your diabetes. As long as you continue to eat at that kosher McDonald's, you are continually making your body not healthy. Does everybody understand the mashal? So when you do teshuvah for an issue, it's like taking insulin. But for you to actually become healthy, you need to get it out of the bones. And there's no way to get it out of the bones until you do teshuvah before a tzaddik emet to Hashem. Why? We don't know yet. But listen to the process. V'chol avera yesh lo tzeruf otiot. Why? Because every avera is a combination of letters. What is he talking about? So I want to teach you something. It's amazing. You have 613 mitzvot. You have 248 do's and 365 don't do's. Now, every single one of these are perfect. They give you life force. They give you energy. They give you simcha. They give you joy. They give you strength. Okay? What happens when you do an avera? So Rabbi Nachman teaches based on Zohar something very deep. The letters of the mitzvah shift around and they discombobulate into another combination of letters. What happens with these letters that they become in a different order than Hashem actually made them? They don't go away. They're still the letters, but they change shape and form. So Hashem's Torah is perfect. What happens to the letters of the mitzvah? They become disordered, and then what happens is you become disordered. Ukshavar eza avera. And when a person does an avera, azai nechkak seruf ra al atzmotav. This avera becomes etched onto his bones. Meaning that this letter combination becomes etched onto his bones. This negative, out of order letter combination. And through this, machnis bechinat adibur shel lav, this lav that he did, let's say it says, make sure that you don't waste seed. Okay? And let's say you waste seed. So what happens every time you do it? So you can do tikkun klali right after. You can go to the mikveh, right? You can do many, many things. But Rabbeinu is teaching that at the same time there's an essential thing that takes place, that there is a figment, that there is a remnant that's left on your bones. Because the mitzvah itself of not to do, those letters of not to do are made in a way that they're healthy for you. So when you abstain from doing it, because it's your life force, the Torah, so then it's good for you. But let's say you're normal like most of us and we make errors, we make mistakes, so what happens to us? So the letter combination of the mitzvah reconfigures and enters into your bones. And when the letters of the Torah are not beseder, they're not in order, they don't benefit you, they cause you harm. Like it says, the Torah can either be a spice of life or a spice of death. How can it be a spice of death if it's not in the right order? Hayenu shemachnis bechinat malchut. In other words, you take malchut, authority, influence, shehu bechinat dibor achad lador. The aspect of there's one leader in the generation. Hu machnis oto betoch hakum. He enters into what's called the nations of the world. V'noten lahem hamshalah. And he gives them power to rule. What is he saying simply? Like this. All of the mitzvot are connected to the sphere called malchut. The practical mitzvot are connected to the sphere which is called malchut. So when you don't do the mitzvah, or you do something against the mitzvah, you distort the malchut. How is the malchut naturally? It's Hashem's malchut. And Hashem's malchut is only ever good for you. It's for your ultimate best. And you experience that it's from His love from you. However, what happens when there is a distortion of one of the mitzvahs that make up His authority? Then automatically what takes place is, it's not just that you did the Avera, but now those letters become distorted and your malchut becomes captured by the Sitra Achra. And no longer is it Hashem's malchut which is directly influencing your life, but it's actually captured by people, places, and things. And now who becomes your authority? Your wife, your boss, your children, your job, people, places, and things. But if Hashem is your only authority, then nothing else becomes your authority. So you don't have a choice about whether you have an authority. You only choose which one. And when a person doesn't do a mitzvah, he is acknowledging at that moment that this person is not my authority. Right? This is just like a very practical thing. Let's say, for instance, there's a new episode of, I don't know, what is a TV show that people watch these days? Give me the garbage. Just tell me a name. Fauda. Do people watch Fauda? Narco, okay? I'm assuming that whatever is on Narco is not kosher. Is it true or not true? Definitely not kosher. Okay. So when I go to watch Narco, what am I saying? I'm going to get enjoyment from watching this. Otherwise, I'm not going to do something I don't enjoy. That doesn't make sense. So that's my king. Enjoyment. The influence in my life is pleasure right now. So as soon as pleasure becomes my king, who's not your king? Hashem. Very good. Okay. So what happens when Hashem's not your king? So okay, great. So He's not your king. But automatically, then your wife becomes your king. Your wife becomes your king. Queen. No, your king. I'm trying to explain something to you very, very, very deep. Listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? I want everybody to listen very clearly. What's the purpose of the nations of the world to the Jewish people? They are our Ezer Kenegdo. The nations of the world, okay?
What does that mean?
Meaning that when Hashem created Adam and Chava, He said to Adam, your wife is going to be your Ezer Kenegdo. What does that mean? Ezer means help. Kenegdo means against. So Rashi says, in a very obvious comment, which one is it? Is she helping me or is she against me? So Rashi says, when you do what you need to do, she helps you. And when you don't, she's against you. What about the nations of the world? It's very easy to believe that there's some nation in every generation for some reason who's obsessed with wiping out the Jews. Whether it's the radical terrorist Islam, whether it is the radical Christians, whether it is the pagans, whether it is the Romans or the Germans, whether it is the Italians or the Russians, it's very easy to fall for the fact that there's a group of people who seemingly are confused. But you know what the real truth is? What are the chances that there's only one nation in every generation who's that confused and comes out with the same conclusion? That the problem of the world is this 0.01% of the world's population called the 5'5" Jewish nation. Does that make sense to anybody? It doesn't make any sense. Wait.
Okay.
So what's the reason? Because they are our Ezer Kenegdo. When the Jewish people do what we need to do, then the nations of the world help us. And when we don't, they oppose us. Why? Because if you don't have opposition when you are not fulfilling your mission in this world, Nothing is going to push you to do what you came to this world to do. Now I'm going to tell you something very deep. That dynamic between the Jewish people and the nations of the world is the same dynamic at home between you and your wife. That when you do what you need to do, your wife will assist you. And when you don't do what you need to do, she will oppose you.
What if it's going against them? You need to do something, but it's going against them.
So this is a delicate matter, but if you're doing what Hashem wants you to be doing, and obviously you need specific eitzah depending on your situation, ultimately she is going to help you. But if, for instance, you watch Narco, okay, I'm just giving an example. So at that moment you're saying Hashem is not my king. So the natural consequence of that is something else has to become your king. Who is it? It's your wife who interrupts you halfway through the show and tells you to take care of the kids. But it's not your wife, it's Hashem.
What if your wife wants to watch Narco?
It's also Hashem. It's also Hashem. And everything in your life, Rabbi Nachman teaches you, is for one thing, that you should have bechira, free will. That at every moment in your life, you have a choice. And Rabbi Nachman says, don't be confused. When a second goes by and you think this was a parv second, nothing happened in this moment. It's not true. Rabbi Nachman says at every moment, that moment only exists in your life to give you a point of bechira, to choose. Okay? And Hashem wants you to experience that you're not limited. How do you experience you're not limited? Sometimes by doing things you're not comfortable with. Like for example, I don't know anything about this, but let's say my wife said to me, I want to watch Narco. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, but if I don't watch Narco, I'm going to ruin my Shalom Bayit because my wife wants to watch it. But I don't really want to watch it. So what am I going to do? There's two things I can do right now. Well, it's probably more than two things. One thing I can do is, I can go watch Narco. Okay. Or, I can say to myself, every single thing that happens in my life is from Hashem to give me free will. To choose Him or not to choose Him. Does Hashem want me to watch Narco? No. So therefore, your choice is, do I choose what I know Hashem wants from me, or do I choose something else that seems like the right decision? And this is the test of every person for all time. Because Adam Rishon listened to his wife, but Hashem didn't want him to. And what did he think to himself? Why would you give me a wife who tells me to do something you don't want me to do? And the answer is, everything is to give you bechira, is to give you free will. Okay? Now what happens though if I say I'm not gonna, and then all of a sudden she goes, wow, you're so whack now, what happened to you? You became so religious and X, Y, and Z, and you're disconnecting from me, and okay. All of this is for one reason, bechira, free will. And eventually, if you do not give up on the truth, she will applaud you, she will honor you, she will thank you, and she will come along with you.
You gotta fight.
I'm sorry, you're not allowed to
Wait.
say like, Hashem, I don't want to watch this really. I'm going to go watch it with her. I'm going to give her all the support like I'm enjoying this. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the field and mamish cry my guts out. You have to find a way that I don't have to watch this. That you take away this like this thing.
So
like
that 1 second. Her love language is not narco.
What?
Her love language is not narco. It's not one. It's not. It's not. I saw the list of love languages online. I didn't see narco on there. Okay. No. I missed that. I missed that one. Quality time does not mean that you have to be watching. Okay. First of all, you guys should know something. As a former therapist, it's so easy to read you guys and what's going on in your homes. You should just know. Okay? There is one way to deal with it, which is what this person in the back said. I'm not going to say his name because we're on camera. Which is, why don't I do what my wife wants? what she asked me to do, and then in my next day, my Hibbodah do just pray to Hashem to help me.
The next day, till this thing is
Yeah.
finished.
Okay. Or you can realize and recognize. You can realize and recognize that the real reason that you don't want to not do what your wife wants is because you're insecure.
We did what?
You're insecure. And you're worried that if you don't do something like this that you don't want to do, that means that you're not making her happy with what she wants and not what is true to you. She might leave you. And I'm telling you a very, very deep psychological insight. This is something to contemplate. I'm telling you a very, very deep psychological thing, okay? She married you because she loves you. You are not an action. You are not a person that if you watch Narco or you don't watch Narco, she loves you or she doesn't love you. She either loves you or she doesn't love you. If you watch Narco or you don't watch Narco, that's not going to determine whether or not she loves you. But at the moment that you make a decision for yourself that you feel like is for both of your best, I'm telling you the real deep reason is because you don't want to feel rejected. What do you do with that feeling? You throw it back to Hashem. Hashem, I know you don't want me to watch this. And I don't want to. And I really want that me and my wife have peace. Help it to be that I'm not going to watch this now. I'm not going to fight with my wife about it. I'm going to nicely, calmly explain to her I can't watch it. I would love to, and I'm going to make extra effort to find something that she would really love to do that's not a sore. And then I'm going to, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to cry to Hashem the next day, Hashem, you need to help me because I'm doing this for you.